Hey, Scott from Aristocob.com here.
And Seth from SethMarkwood.com.
And Cal Markwood from Smoky Littleton, Colorado, and his wife Peggy.
Hi, Mom.
Hi.
Hi, Grandma. You get to be part of this now.
Yeah, so
Congratulations.
I didn't plan on that.
So together, including you, our viewer, the five of us are Markwood Men's Breakfast Club. How special is that?
Super special. I mean, we're pulling out all the stops for number 300, right?
This is episode 300, which is a little mind-blowing to us. Let me explain how we do the math. We do not include our daily tobacco advent episodes that we post from December 1st through December 25th. Most years, we actually go a little beyond the 25th. So we figure that we're probably at 500 episodes.
Yeah, we should have stopped and actually counted up before doing this. But, you know, we didn't.
To show our level of professionalism here.
That's right, so professional.
So we need to get Mom to slide over. Mom, you're in this.
No.
What?
Come on.
I quite like that she just keeps sliding further and further out of frame.
Mom, you're helping our analytics with the female viewers. So
we need all the help there that we can get.
So actually, you know, this is interesting. This brings to mind an interesting topic. So we're here to celebrate 300 episodes. I don't know how many you've been along with us, but we've been here for almost all of them. There were a couple.
Yeah.
Where
the dark years,
where I wasn't here, or Seth wasn't here, or neither of us was here. But for the most part, we've been here from that beginning. When did we start this? That's good.
Look, if you wanted a clip show, you should have called someone else. You should have called your Fiverr editor.
You're right.
I don't know. Well, I will pull it. Let's see.
You got an editor in Pakistan that could look these numbers up for us.
Let's see. Should have prepared for that. I think we started in 2015. I want to say, but maybe not.
It's got to be longer than that.
Could be.
I feel like it.
Yeah, it does.
Just for the numbers to work out, you think?
Well, let's see. We have, looking at some of the analytics, we have, it doesn't just tell you. Why doesn't it just tell you? It should just tell you how many videos you've got.
It does if you're on the desktop version.
We started this a long time ago, it feels like. And we have done consistently a video every week, almost every week, for the entirety of that time. It may have been fall of 2014.
I'm going to look this up.
I'm already doing that. You're supposed to be vamping.
You're not.
When I'm Googling, you're vamping.
You are not
and
being
the other
very
way
successful.
around.
In the meantime, somebody watching this has already got this figured out.
Well, according to this, our audience is, for the last 28 days, 100% male. So for Grandma. So thank you for bumping up that demographic. And less than 70% from the U.S.
Our very first episode was November 10th, 2013.
Oh gosh, this is my last episode, guys. This was good, but I'm out. When was that? November?
Look at this picture. If it'll focus, look at this picture of boy. Anyway, that was a number of years and several LBs ago. Congratulations, boy, on that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so we've done all of those, plus odds and ends videos, plus all the tobacco advent. So I think we're pushing up close to 500. It's been fun.
It has been fun. So again, a little more background. This whole thing got started when Seth and I were on a trip to Ohio with our brides and talking about something that we might do. And we actually conceptualized the tobacco advent concept before we even had a channel to do it on. And the whole name of Markwood Men's Breakfast Club came out of an experience of when I was a kid and we were in Denver for Aunt Terry and Uncle Dave's wedding, whatever year that was, 70s, 70-something. What was that, Dad? Do you recall? 76?
44 years ago.
Yeah, 44 years ago. Do the math.
Oh, goodness. I don't do math.
76.
1976. And while the ladies were getting ready for the wedding, the guys went off and had breakfast, I think maybe at Azar's Big Boy or a Denny's or something like that. Azar's Big Boy, excuse me. And I sat at that table. And at the time, we were living in Ohio, and most of our family was scattered. But here we are sitting around the table, all the Markwood men, and I'm thinking, this is really cool. We should have a Markwood men's breakfast every now and again to commemorate this get-together. So that has bounced around in my head since I was a kid. And so as we thought about a name, I said, it's Markwood Men's Breakfast Club. And though we very rarely eat breakfast on this channel.
And we always apologize when we do, because no one wants to see that.
Nobody wants to see that.
No.
So since Mom doesn't want to be in this, let's talk about her. How long have you guys been married?
She's recording you, so go ahead.
How long?
Still?
How long have you guys been married?
Oh, man.
Almost 62.
Almost 62.
Almost 62 years. So what year was that you got married?
58.
You do the math.
You do the math.
1958.
Wow. And
I wasn't around then.
And no, but I was coming on 5 years after that.
Yeah.
So, and I am the third of 5 children. Now my oldest sister has passed away. But I have 4 sisters, and I'm smack dab in the middle of that mix. And again, we're all scattered except for the youngest, who lives in the Denver area near where my folks live. And we've talked about, traveling and places we've lived, and your time in Thailand during the Vietnam War. But I'm curious about some of your passions. I know I told you that we weren't going to interview you, but we'll use this as a springboard to chat. What are some of your hobbies, Dad?
Well, probably one I've spent a lot of time on is analyzing performance of catamaran, trimaran sailboats.
And you do that by getting on those catamarans, trimarans, and sailboats?
I do that by getting specifications from magazines and online and putting it in a big spreadsheet database.
So what made that interesting to you?
I've been fascinated by sailboats alongside of airplanes forever.
And then you enjoy catamarans, or multi-hulls, I guess, technically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you've had 2 catamarans?
Two Hobie cats, a 16 and an 18.
Okay. And that was since you've lived in Denver. You didn't have a catamaran when we were in California or Alabama or Ohio?
We checked one out down at Disney World and sailed on that when we were down there. But that was just a little bit.
Disney World was like really close to being brand new then, wasn't it? It's like 74 or 75, something like that.
They were just building it when I went through pilot training the end of the 50s, 57, 58.
No,
that was under construction, I think.
Disneyland.
Disney World. No, Disneyland was before Jerry was born.
Right, but Disneyland wasn't open until the 70s. So they weren't working on that in the 50s.
Disneyland was open in
Yeah, Disneyland was open in the 50s
You just
or
said
early 60s.
You said
Disney
it wrong. World.
Yeah, you said them backwards.
Opened
Yeah,
in
you
the
just said them
70s.
backwards.
California Disneyland was late 50s, early 60s. But I think Disney World was under construction because I saw it from the air when I was in pilot training down there.
Ah, okay. Because we were living in Montgomery when we went to Disney World for the first time.
Yeah, we were really on our way to Montgomery when we went on past it and went on down to Disney World and then back up the Florida southern coast and then up to Montgomery.
Was that the trip that we visited with the Stones?
Yes.
So Mr. Stone was years later the man that introduced me to shopsmith tools.
Oh yeah.
which he sat in our living room there in Beaver Creek, Ohio, and shared with us a product brochure. And they were made. Beaver Creek is just outside of Dayton, and they were made in Dayton, still made in Dayton. And I remember watching over leaning over the back of the couch and watching you guys looking through the brochures. I think I was more interested than you were.
Probably true.
So, what all information goes into your spreadsheets when you're looking at the sailboats? I mean, what are you looking for, and what are you extrapolating from that?
I'm looking for the waterline length of the hulls, the length of the immersed part of the hulls.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for the spacing between the two catamaran hulls, and I'm looking for the weight of the boat, the displacement of the boat, and for cruising sail area. Those are the things that contribute to performance and contribute to stability. And so those are the two main factors that I try to set out for people to be able to compare one boat against the other. I have a friend who lives in Milton, Florida, near Pensacola, who's probably hunkering down, hiding from the tornado, the hurricane now, who contacted me many years ago and said he had seen a couple of publications that I had out in magazines showing the early part of this analysis, and said that there was a website that you could compare monohulls, regular conventional sailboats, and he would like to build a website that showed catamarans and trimarans. So he did that, took my database, and the two of us worked to get more boats into it. And so we have about 1,200 catamarans now, and about, I would say, 200 or 300 trimarans.
Are you still building that database?
I add to it when people request it now. The manufacturers and salespeople won't publish all of the data I need because they don't want people comparing their boat to other boats. And so I really struggle to get good information on new boats, and they're building new designs by the hundreds a year. It's incredible. Europe is really building them, France and in particular. And when we took our trip to the Caribbean last year, we saw dozens and dozens of new catamaran sailboats down there that they use for charters. But I can't get good data, so I'm not actively building the database anymore.
So is that exciting to see new designs, or what do you feel when you go somewhere and you see a bunch of catamarans you hadn't seen before?
It's interesting because they were the ugly stepchild for decades when I first got interested in them, and they appealed to me because they had performance built into them rather than a chunk of lead hanging down there. And so it took a long time for them to get accepted, and it was the chartering of French-built catamarans in the Caribbean area that really made it explode. So anyway.
And so when you say performance, what does that encompass? Just speed or
speed? Yeah.
Just speed, maneuverability?
No, I don't get into maneuverability.
That would require additional pieces of data points.
Data. Yeah.
So this is like the belt sander race that I competed in and eventually won, because it was so many variables, such as the grit of the sandpaper, the speed of that belt, and there is a certain point where you can get it going so fast that the belt slips, and so you're not getting the traction that you need to pick up the speed that you need.
Yeah.
And that brought out the inner nerd in me. As much as I'm not interested in calculating performance, I certainly did. That's fun.
Yep.
That is a very unusual hobby. I know, having grown up with you, that you're a bit of a wizard in the shop, but you don't enjoy being in the shop, at least not the way that others do. And we talked about your dad and the shop in Denver, but do you have a shop at home?
No, not that I make anything. I started making a model of a 1/8 scale model of a catamaran that my friend in Florida was going to build, and I've never been skilled at building that kind of things. Models when I was growing up, I didn't like to build them. I would get them about half done and lose interest. But if I had a friend that built a model and couldn't make it fly, then I could take his as airplane and make it fly.
Okay.
So
So a 1/8 model, how big was the model?
the model was a 32-foot catamaran. So divide 32 by 8, you get 4. It was about 4 feet long.
Wow, that's a big old model.
Yeah.
And so while you were building that, no one could play bumper pool?
I don't have a bumper pool anymore.
Well, where was
Air
it?
hockey.
How was it on the air hockey table?
Duncan and the other kids were throwing stuff down there and broke part of the model, which is what terminated the construction.
Oh,
of it.
no.
That's depressing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I sent him off to the Marines.
Destroy somebody else.
Yeah.
Now let's see. I know another hobby of yours is what you do in the mountains every time you possibly can. So tell us about what you and Mom like to do.
Well, we like to go off-road, four-wheeling. That's taken on a different flavor this year. About 2 winters ago, we had an enormous snowfall and a lot of avalanches and a lot of water that ran off. And it washed out a lot of the roads, avalanche damage as well as water damage. And we have some friends at church that have a new Jeep that he's put a lot of off-road accessories into. And they've done a lot of going on the trails that they say are much rougher this year than before. We started on one about 2 weeks ago and spent about 20 minutes on it and decided that was really dumb because it was just, boulders that you couldn't reach around that looked like they had been lifted out and set off to the side of the road. So you went from a boulder to a hole, and it was really rough. So we're a little more selective about where we go now, but we still like to go to the mountains. And
What are you
hike.
driving? You mentioned he has a Jeep. What vehicle do you take?
It's a 4Runner, Toyota 4Runner.
And Mom was talking about how now more often than ever she gets out of the car and lets you drive past obstacles and things. Is that true?
No, there's only been 2 times that she did that, and they were decades ago in other vehicles that were capable of going in these places, but it just got too rough for her. There was one that was like a riverbed on about a 30-degree incline that we had to go down.
Oh, down.
Down, so it feels like the
Yeah.
back end's going to go.
What you do is you point the front wheels, release the brakes, and put the brakes on again, and you go about 20 feet, and you're just and then point them again. And she was out of the car showing me where to point the wheels. So,
Wow.
And that was one. Another one was a place where we got to a point where we had about a 2.5 to 3 foot drop off. That we had no choice but to go. Hold on, that's your sister, Scott.
Well, my sister's not named Scott.
Stand by.
Okay, so Dad, here's a real Markwood Men's Breakfast Club question. Do you prefer your sandwiches hot or cold?
Yes.
Yes.
The better question is, what is your ideal peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Cold.
Good answer. What would be its construction?
Yeah. What ratio peanut butter to jelly? What kind of jelly? What kind of peanut butter?
What kind of bread?
Well, we usually eat whole wheat bread, and
No, the question was, what's your favorite?
Your ideal.
Ideal.
Perfect. Your perfect peanut butter and jelly.
whole wheat at my age. Okay, you do things for health, and just smooth peanut butter, and usually have strawberry preserved jelly in it. You probably end up with about a 1.5 to 1 jelly to peanut butter ratio.
Okay, so I'm the peanut.
Half to one.
I am the
Yeah.
strawberry preserve guy myself too. And I like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich that's been packed away and that you eat, somewhere in a picnic area or some pretty vista, and the jelly has started to work its way through the bread. And I think that's a throwback to either trips that we took and stopped to eat, or maybe it was field trips at school to the Smithsonian. I don't know. And if there was a cold can of Coke in there that was kind of smushing against the sandwich, I think that contributed to that too.
The other feature in peanut butter and jelly sandwiches now, though, is it's got to have potato chips in it too.
Oh gosh, yes,
What
absolutely.
kind of?
If you put them in advance, they get all soggy.
You can't do that. What kind of potato chips?
Lay's.
Okay, so just original chips.
Unwrinkled ones. In a pinch, you can do the wrinkled ones too.
Yeah.
I like barbecue.
I remember as a kid, you guys would be making sandwiches for 7 of us. Basically, you would end up making a loaf of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, putting it right back in the bag where it came from, and that's what came on the trip with us. I was talking to my oldest grandson, Smuckers, the other day, and he was talking about wanting to take a camping trip. And Jandy said, yeah, we'll take a camping trip. Well, it was maybe half hour later, he walks up with this list, and he says, all right, so here's what I think we would want to take on the camping trip. So, we were talking theoretical. He's planning on packing the car.
Yeah.
And I wound up Googling and showing him a camping box and describing what you had built.
Oh, yeah.
So take us back to that. I forget, were we on an RA? That's Southern Baptist Boys version of Boy Scouts,
Yeah.
Royal Ambassadors. We were going on an RA trip, and who had that camp box that you saw?
George Stone.
Mr. Stone again.
George had one that was about 3 feet wide and opened on the front, and you could have silverware and dishes and canned goods in it. I wanted, because of the size of the family and the fact we had a station wagon and a trailer, a pop-up camper, I built 2 2-foot ones, and I was able to segregate the contents better and set up the shelves and things better for that. So it copied George's idea.
Because you did something that was pretty smart. Of course, a lot of the things you did was pretty smart. But instead of going to the trouble of building divided drawers, you took drawer organizers, plastic organizers that you might put into a kitchen drawer, and you just attached those to plywood pieces that were running in grooves. And
Right.
at least for the silverware and some of the condiments and things, you had them in that. I thought that was pretty clever. And an arrow can opener that would attach to a swing line can opener that would attach to the side of one of the boxes that you could open the cans with.
Yeah.
Very clever design. So Smuckers was impressed with that. I said, well, maybe we'll see if Grandpa can dig out a picture of one of your boxes, because you since have reduced down to 1 box. Is that right?
I don't have any boxes now.
No, really.
Yes, really.
What happened?
It went with the camper when I sold it to Dale and Jill for $1.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a good deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it had gone through a hailstorm or two, if I recall.
Well, it was worse than that. My brother Steve borrowed it one time, and one of his friends was backing it up with his van, and it got away from him and kind of crunched in the rounded part on the front of one side, and it probably broke the structural joint between the side panel and that front. And sometime later, then Jill and Dale took it to Wyoming, I think to Yellowstone. And coming back, I think Dale decided to see how fast his his Durango would go, and at about 90 miles an hour, that side panel came loose.
Oh no.
Didn't blow completely away, but it came loose, and so I said, "You just bought it. You know, I've got for $1 you get the title."
You bought that in the early 70s, right? You bought that when we lived in Maryland, and then before we moved to
In
Alabama.
Virginia,
But
73.
we were living in Maryland. You bought it in
We
Virginia.
were living in, yeah.
Man.
Yep. We could count at one time. We could actually account for over 600 nights we had spent in that
Whoa! Wow.
camp. Yeah, by counting up trips and the nights that we spent, and of course we spent a month in it when we first moved to Dayton.
That's right.
I remember spending one night in it.
Do you?
Oh, that's right. You did, didn't you?
Yeah, just the one though.
Where were we?
Just the one.
You guys were at Leg Break Falls, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Oh, leg break. Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
that
wasn't
that
supposed
3
to
day
be one night.
three-day camping trip became a one-night camping trip.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a shame.
That was also the trip where I got to watch my dad take the catamaran ride I was supposed to have.
Oh,
sitting
Sat on the
by
shore in a wheelchair.
in the sun. Like,
Yeah,
wow, this was fun. Grandpa,
Did we take you on the catamaran up there, or did we do it at Chatfield? After we got back to Denver. Well, you weren't with us till we got back to Denver.
Yeah,
So.
that would have been Chatfield.
yeah. Yeah, never got to ride.
Sorry.
That's not, well, I mean, I have a cool scar, so who really came out on top? I thought of you the other day. I went over to a friend's house and got to play with his virtual reality headset. And it was incredibly immersive. He, you know, I'm standing in this living room, and there are these cameras that are mounted, and puts the headset on, and then entered a program, and I swear, you start off in an elevator, like an industrial elevator, and if you had told me that that's where I really was, had I not just put the headset on, I would have believed that I was in an elevator. And
you had gloves on, or a glove? Or?
Had not gloves, but handheld controllers, and that the cameras can read. They completely map your body, and so it will mimic your finger movements, and so you can point and see that virtually pointing. So you know he comes up and says, "Here's your controller." I've got the headset on. He says, "Here's the controller," and I can see the virtual controller, and I can see my hand grabbing this virtual controller, and it was surreal. And I know that you had done some old simulation style stuff way back, and I would be interested to hear how it relates. How the technology has changed, and if you've experienced anything of the newer technology that's out there now in terms of the virtual reality simulation stuff.
Yeah, I have no knowledge of that. I've not experienced virtual reality equipment or environment. I've seen other people experiencing it on television, but the flight simulators, I think the big improvement that they've made in those is the visual systems have been made much more realistic, and the guys, the pilots, not just guys, can train in air-to-air combat and so forth, and it's like they're in the airplane, and literally, and trained to the point where the first time they do something in flight, they know they've already done it before. Their skill level is way up there.
So I think we've mentioned, but in case somebody hadn't seen this, you were in command of the simulator program for the Air Force. Is that right?
Yeah.
Wright-Patterson.
Yeah.
For a time before moving over to the F-16, but that was around the time that Star Wars was becoming a movie, Industrial Light and Magic, and you guys were doing some of the stuff that reminded me when I ended up seeing the behind the scenes making of Star Wars was very much what you were doing, because you had physical models that cameras
Yeah.
were panning, and
Yeah.
the model would articulate and the camera would move, but inside of the simulator you were seeing what looked like an airplane flying up or pulling away.
Yeah, we had a research simulator out at Luke Air Force Base in Arizona that was two F4 cockpits simulated with a wraparound visual system, and it did just what you said. We had two MiG-21 models with cameras on it, and as you were flying, you were maneuvering against the other airplane, and we had a general who had spent 6 years in the Hanoi Hilton when he came back, and he came to a symposium we had for the simulator business, and he was up on the stage and he's pacing back and forth. He said, "I just spent some time out at Luke Air Force Base," and he says, "I got to fly the simulator for air-to-air combat," and he says, "This is almost more than I can say, but that was the most valuable 2 hours in my entire flying career."
Wow.
And he said, "I went back over there about 3 in the morning, and the student pilots were lined up waiting for a turn to get extra time in the simulator." So that'll show you. And again, this is mid 70s that was going on. We took another simulator that had been built for the T-37, the small jet trainer, and converted the visual system on it to and the cockpit and so forth to an A-10 cockpit, and we put A-10 student pilots, guys that were just checking out in the airplane, in it for air-to-ground gunnery training. Took them then to Davis-Monthan Air Force Base down in Tucson, where they were going through their training, and the instructors took them up, and they said they were dropping scoreable bombs on their first mission.
Wow.
And he said, usually it's 3 or 4 or 5 missions before they even feel comfortable with the airplane. So they were doing phenomenal things with them way back then, and you can imagine how it's improved now.
At what point did the Air Force realize that, you know what, we don't even have to have these pilots necessarily even in the aircraft? When did they come to that conclusion that they could fly these from the ground?
They probably still haven't.
Why? I saw an article about
especially will never admit that. But it was, I think, as drones became more capable, there's been this balancing out of the unmanned airplane with the manned airplane. The F-22, F-35, still the old F-15s and F-16s are still flying, and there's a good number of them, and they still do air-to-air combat when they get over in the Middle East. But the drones are taking over some of the, a lot of the surveillance, a lot of the intelligence, and they're strike capable now. They've taken out a lot of the leaders on the other side.
Priority targets.
So what do you think, speaking of drones, what do you think of these like robotic dogs and some of these this future war tech?
The Boston Dynamic dogs that open doors for one another.
Those are creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're creepy.
Yeah.
They'll find their place.
Yeah, I've seen Terminator.
Yeah,
they certainly do,
whether you want them to or not.
Yeah, the movies will lead them.
That's right.
Yeah.
We I saw an article just the other day for a new tank that is controlled with an Xbox controller. That can be controlled remotely. Look, there has been military training happening in every home for the last 20 years with some of this stuff.
Sure.
So it's not a surprise that they're adopting the skills, really.
You know, the simulators I would like the kids to be working with now would be remembering the napkin, the straw, and if there's some silverware that's supposed to be in my order
Yeah.
when I go through the drive-through, that
Yeah.
would be excellent. I don't know
That's
what we
right.
would call that game, but
That's right.
I always love it when I pull up to the window and it's a little old lady because I know there's going to be salt and pepper and all kinds of things I forgot to ask for.
Oh, well, I didn't tell you this, but with the virtual reality headset, the movement is the hardest part because you can move in the physical space within the walls of the room that you're in, right? Within the box that you're in. And so you can turn 360 degrees and you can open drawers and pull things out, and all of that was fascinating. But if you need to move from here to 10 feet away within the virtual reality space, you can. One of the games I played had like a teleport option, which was great. The other one had a walk option. It was almost immediately nausea-inducing.
Oh, sure.
To have this
Your brain thinks
entire
you're walking,
field of
but your
vision.
body doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. It was really, really weird. Not the sort of thing I would want to ever experience as a pilot or somebody. If you feel that sort of experience, it was not great.
What is the most nausea-inducing thing that you experience as a pilot, Dad?
Well, with simulators, let me answer that one first. We had some research going on when I was in the simulator business. The big argument was whether you needed a motion system or not to feel the G forces and so forth, which you can't simulate 4Gs sitting on the ground. And so there was a big argument going on that. Also, visual systems were just really coming in, and we found that if you had a difference in what you input to the simulator and what the visual and the motion system gave you as they responded, of 15 milliseconds, 15 thousandths of a second, you would induce nausea. And the more susceptible the individual was, the more. There's two F4 air-to-air combat simulator. My boss, when I was in the simulator school, and I were in them together, and he had a tendency toward motion sickness. And it didn't take long before I was able to shoot him down easily because he couldn't maneuver the simulator.
So I'm assuming the cockpits are washable. Is that that hose them down?
Yeah. You use your helmet bag.
So you're saying if you are going to have motion, that what you're seeing in the motion have to be synced.
They have to be very close to perfectly synced. And Seth, you were probably experiencing some of that in your virtual reality experience.
Yeah.
You probably didn't know what was doing it, but it was probably related to that.
Yeah, I mean, it was. So this simulator was physics based, and so a lot of it was fascinating because you could drop something and watch it drop and see things interact with one another. And I think in some of these simulations, they remove walking. I think it really was the walking that was the problem. So when you're gliding around, it feels unnatural, but it's not super unnatural. This game was trying to mimic real life as closely as possible. And so when you move the character, you get that bobbing effect of walking, and you're standing still.
No.
And so it's like when you're looking out the side of the car, and your body is just saying this is just not right. And I mean, it was almost immediate. You kind of get just weirdly disoriented. I couldn't walk further than what it would have been maybe 5 or 10 feet in real life before I had to stop and pause, or I would feel sick.
Did you see the episode of Pitch Meeting for Ready Player One?
Probably.
So, Dad, this is a movie where most of mankind basically is living in a virtual simulation, and there's actually a competition going on by the guy that created this virtual world, and he had since passed away. But before he died, he created a game, and the winner of the game would win something great.
Rights to the game.
Yeah. So, and so there were corporations that were fighting to win, and there were just gamers that wanted to be able to win this game. and you could win physical things in the game. And so one of the players wins this virtual reality suit he can put on that'll help him feel, if somebody punches him, he'll feel the actual punches. And this guy that does these hilarious YouTube videos, they're as if the writer of the movie is pitching it to the movie producer, and he's like, yeah, and then this kid, he's going to win the suit, and he'll be able to feel all the punches. He's going to feel the punches. Oh yeah, there'll be this one point where he gets kicked in the nuts, and he totally feels it. It's like, what?
Who would buy one?
Who would buy one? I mean, that would be, I think, the one feature I would disable immediately on a.
You can't.
Crazy.
Seth, this takes me back to Ender's Game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The training.
Yep, that's exactly right. The enemy's gate is down.
The enemy's gate is down. Yeah. That was a disappointing movie, but a great book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling somebody about that just the other day. They pointed out another book that was, I think Aragon was another one that was a good book and terrible movie that they pointed out.
I hate that I have become one of those pretentious people that always makes that comment, but that movie in particular, it's like they got a big budget and had great plans, and then suddenly said, I think we're going to give you half of that budget. And they took what in my mind were the neatest scenes, the scene in the battle room and some of that stuff, and they just kind of wiped it away. I was really looking forward to that aspect of it. It was really disappointing. But I'm glad, because if it had been really successful, there'd be tens of thousands of kids named Ender running around. So
Yeah. One's enough.
one's plenty. Yep. So Jandy and Allison and Seth's kids are down in Greenville, South Carolina right now at the zoo. It's a really cool zoo in the city, not unlike the one in Denver that they're exploring next couple of days.
How you guys got free tonight?
That's exactly what happened. Yep.
And
it
next
was
weekend, are they still going to be down there when you have your movie?
Yeah,
Bill
okay.
and Ted.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure Part 3, Bill and Ted Face the Music. I told my boss today, I said, hey, if I seem a little distracted, it's because Bill and Ted's coming out this weekend, and I may have to just take the rest of the week off.
Hey, we have a parade magazine in our newspaper, and this week there were 2 issues in yesterday's paper, and one of them from a week ago was all about that movie.
Really? All right.
Should I scan it?
I'd love to see that. Yeah.
I may just have to put it in an envelope and send it to you.
Okay, time travel over to
trash. It may have some Kentucky on it, Scott.
I wonder if I can get that online. Now, I tell you what, there's something about the original movie, and I guess the time in my life, something about that it just clicked and captured my imagination and has resonated with me all these years. And when the second one came out, it was just, for me, perfect timing, and I loved it. And even though it's weird, and I think I told you, they die and go to hell, and it's not exactly theologically sound, but just...
It's not.
No, it's not. But really, really funny and entertaining, and just a good ride.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to see those characters come back and maybe complete their mission from 30 years ago. We'll see. I have a theory about that too.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yep. But I was talking to somebody at work about it who also hasn't seen it, and they said, we'll probably watch it this weekend. I said, don't you dare, if you're not going to go see episode 1 and 2. It won't make any sense.
Or have they not seen it?
They've never seen any of it.
That's silly. Yeah.
Yeah.
They need to. Why would you
Sell
see
tickets to your...
Oh, yeah.
session.
That might be illegal, but we'll do a movie night. Actually, we've already discussed this. We have to do it Saturday, even though it's out on Friday, because boys got some previous engagement. So I'm not promising I won't watch it on Friday, but we'll watch it together on Saturday.
Scott, you could sell peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Now there's where the money could be, right there. with or without potato chips. $5 more for
Yes.
the crunchified version.
Uh,
So, who are you chatting with, boy? Oh, your wife?
Yeah.
Yeah, Seth's got some stuff going on. Even while his family is away from home, he's got some things going on.
It's like life doesn't stop just for Markwoodman's Breakfast Club episode 300. 300. Well, this is it. This has been a fun run. So, what, 7 years? It's been great. Glad to call it quits right now. So, Grandpa, thank you for joining us for this. This was a good one to end it on. So, probably won't see you guys next week, but that's okay. Most of you haven't watched to this point anyway. So,
yeah, they're not going to get this message, right?
No, you won't know that at all.
All right. Well, yeah, we probably should wrap it up. Dad, thanks for joining us,
you're welcome.
especially when we didn't give you any prompts of what we were going to talk about because even we didn't know.
No, this
Yeah.
is great. It's good to see
I
you.
enjoyed it. We'll see you next Saturday, if not before.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, love you, Dad. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye, Mom, if you're still listening.
And
Yes,
for all of
I
you.
am.
Oh, hey!
How long have you been here?
Very interesting, guys.
Creeping on us.
Now we got to get to the campaign. See what Trump's been saying all night.
Oh, he's in North Carolina right now, too. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Should be interesting. All right. Well, actually, when they watch this, that'll be 2 weeks ago. So, all right. Night, guys.
Bye, guys. Love you.
Love you, too.
Love you too. And for all of you watching, thank you for watching.
And we love you, too.
Yeah, we will see you guys next week for episode 301 if we're back. Thanks for watching. Make it a great week.